be no war. Peace will take over the land. No more broken heart, abandoned and alone. God will separate the right from wrong. Then we'll be changed in a moment, caught up in the twinkling of an eye.
Hey, is my microphone on? 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey, family, what's going on? It's Lizzy right here with Life with Lizzy at Believe Radio, your 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station, honey. You got to believe in something, so you might as well believe in us. Hey, I'm so glad that you are here. I love the fact that you guys, Lifeliners, keep tapping in with Lizzy every Saturday 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. Child, you guys are who I love to do life with. Go ahead, do me a favor. You got it. Tag a neighbor, call a friend, let them know that Lizzy is in and she's right here, Believe Radio. While you're doing that, go ahead and let me know where you are tapping in from. Listen, I want to connect with you. So while you're doing that, know that you can always send me an email at believeradio.lifewithlizzy@gmail.com. Again, that is believeradio.lifewithlizzy@gmail.com. I am really enjoying your emails. I'm really enjoying your messages. Some of you guys are hitting me up in my inbox and you are sharing with me how Life with Lizzy is helping you live your life out loud. And I am loving it. I want to give a shout out to Jamie J. She was the recipient of that good journal because we have decided we are going to journal through it. We are going to date ourselves. We are going to adjust. And so I want to give a huge shout out to her and to all of you who are just saying, Lizzy, I love doing life with you. Well, Lizzy wants you to know I love doing life with you too, child. Yes, I do. Well, guess what? I'm not going to hold you. Let's get into this conversation. So, I have to be honest because that's just who I am. I'm never going to bore you with a bunch of make believe. All right. Let's just be honest. Sometimes when we are doing this thing called life is not always good. It's not always smile. It's not full of smiles. It's not, joy. It's just not, peaches and cream. There are some days when life be life. Do I have anybody out there? Y'all, all right? Don't start. Come on. Strong friends. How many times can we just be honest and say, you know what, it's life in right now. I am in a place where, I really need God to do something for me. I have been believing God for a long time. And Lizzy, I'm about ready to throw in the towel. I want to tell you, don't throw in the towel, but I want you to know Lizzy knows exactly where you are, right? So life's me too. And I was sitting this week thinking about one of the most difficult seasons that I ever experienced. And some of you guys know my story, but some of you that don't know, because we're new, we're getting to know one another. I struggled for over a decade, close to over 12 years. I struggle with infertility, the inability to conceive. And I thought it would be befitting to share that with you this week for those of you that are in life. You're in life's balance, the balancing act of, should I stay, should I go, should I continue to believe God. And let me tell you something about believing God. When you are in real faith and you are in real in the middle, in the crutches of believing, you do need somebody to tell you to keep going. You do need that voice to say, you know what, I know exactly where you are. You can make it. I need you to know on this day, if I never tell you anything else, listen, you are in real faith. You're going to make it. It's going to happen for you. Now, Lizzy can't tell you when, but I just believe the word of the Lord concerning you. And so I'll share with you in the little time that we do have my story. I'll never forget. I remember My husband and I, we had just gotten married, and we are expecting to share the news. Oh, we're gonna have a baby, and for whatever reasons, that didn't happen. It was not happening as soon as I thought that it should happen, and I started realizing there were some things that were physically taking place in my body. And so I remember going to the doctor, and I'm saying, hey, something's not right. And the doctor, she began to run a battery of tests. And I was thinking, like, do it really take all of that? But nevertheless, I get these test results back, and they were not in my favor. And she began to share with me that it would almost be very difficult or almost impossible for me to conceive. And I remember the air uh, being sucked out of that room. And I had to make a conscious decision right then and there. Was I going to accept the report of the physician, or was I going to accept the report of the Lord? And so, unfortunately, there was no organ, there was no drums, there was no piano, there was no choir, there was nobody in the room saying, touch your neighbor. I had to come in agreement with the word concerning my life that I would conceive. And so, in that moment, I had to consciously drown out what she was saying. I could not let doubt in, I could not let fear in, I couldn't let all of these emotions and these things that were grasping for my attention. I believe oftentimes when we are dealing in life situations and when we hear something that's traumatic or it's something that causes our heart to drop, there's these things like fear and uncertainty and all of those things they're seeking to get in. But it was in that moment that I had to put up my faith walls and say, wait a minute, wait. What am I in this instance choosing to believe? And I chose to believe that God could heal. I have to be honest with you because I thought for sure it would be a, quick uh, end to this, but it was not quick. In actuality, it seemed like it escalated. The more we tried, the more heartbreak, the more disappointment began to happen. I remember now wondering, what did I do to deserve this? Do I got any lifeliners out there? Come on, strong friends, talk to me. Or you feel like the thing that you're going through has to do with something that maybe you did wrong. But let's look at that through another set of lenses. Could it be that you faith God right? That the Lord knows that He can trust you with trouble? hmm Let's talk, friend. I believe that God knows that He can trust you with trouble. And so, anytime you can be trusted with trouble, there is a process that faith walkers go through. And so, here I find myself, walking this out and believing God. And let me tell you something, there were days where I cried. I could not listen, tears would not leave me alone. I begin to here it is, begin to look outside of my life and outside of my window, and I would begin to see other people. And here's the thing, when you are in life and life is pressuring you, we all have the tendency to try to compare our lives to other people. But let Lizzie share something with you. Don't. Do not compare yourself with a highlight reel to somebody else's life when, guess what? You don't see the totality of what they're going through. And so I began to compare, and what about this and what about that, and I had all of these things going on, and I remember having to sit and say, Lord, you're going to have to help me because I need you. I really need you because now depression had begun to set in. Am I talking to anybody? I begin to wonder not if, but just simply when. See, there are times when you are going through things where you just, I don't mind going through it. I just need to know, when is this thing gonna be over? surely there's an expiration date, and is it tomorrow? Because the pain of this that I'm going through, oh my gosh, it's a lot. Especially when you are believing God for something that money cannot buy. I was not believing God for a house. I was not believing God for a car. I was not believing God for any of those materialistic things, but I was believing God for something that money could not buy. Can I talk to you today that are watching me and saying, Liz, I know I'm believing God for something that money can't buy. And I want to tell you today that you gotta hold on. I want you to hold on, and I want you to stand on the very promise that you know belongs to you. And as time began to go on, my faith level began to kick in. I began to decree and to declare the word of the Lord over my life, over my womb. And I had to say, you know what? The Lord promised me. He promised me. He gave me instructions. And guess what? I am going to stand on it. And I stood on it season after season, month after month. Oh my gosh, can I tell you, I experienced physicians that weren't always kind to me. They would say things that were they were totally contradictory to my faith, and they would say certain things that I just, again, I had to say, nope, I'm choosing not to believe that. But I will share this. There was a moment where I felt like, you know what, I can't go any further. Now, normally, God, I'm good, but now at what point is enough enough? I remember probably around year 7 or 8, I absolutely dreaded Mother's Day. I dreaded it. It would be difficult for me to get out of the bed because I knew all day long I was going to hear Happy Mother's Day. And unfortunately, at that time, I just was not. Although I had my mother and I had my mother in love, and I took those days to really cherish them. But let's be honest, there was still a part of me on there was still a part wanting to know God when. And I remember this particular year, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna get ahead of this thing. I'm gonna beat it. I'm not gonna be emotional. I'm not gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna do this. And I got up, and we were at an event, and I decided to do busy work to kind of keep my head, you know, clear. Can I talk to you that kind of like do busy work to kind of keep your mind off of what you're really going through when life is really life in you? And I'm in the kitchen and I'm doing busy work. I think I'm fixing plates and I'm hosting and I'm making sure everybody is okay. Although I am broken and I'm not. Listen, I wasn't as strong as I was uh, when I woke up and decided and thinking that this was a good idea. Let me be honest. And I was really, I'm really trying. And I remember I went to open the door and I heard, someone say Happy Mother's Day. And everybody was greeting everyone with the Happy Mother's Day salutation. And someone looked at me and said to me, Oh, I'm sorry, you're not a mom. And they didn't mean it. No, no intent. That was never intentional. But it fell on me like a pound of bricks. And it was in that moment that I said, you know what? I have to remove myself from here. I couldn't hold it together anymore. And I remember walking to the car and getting in the car and I just cried out and I just boo-hooed. Can I talk to you that you've been holding it in and saying, you know what, I'm strong, I can take it. Child, let that out. Go ahead, cry that out, cry out, especially from the standpoint of I don't know when this thing is going to let up. It is okay. And I want us to get into the habit of to thy own self be true and be true to your own emotions. You don't have to hide it. There's no such thing in your faith walk and in your life walk that you have to be strong all the time. Listen, I'm not that strong. Listen, I'm so strong, I let myself break. Okay. Listen, if we're going to talk about strength, there's strength in releasing the things that are pent up, those emotions, that pain, that hurt, listen, I don't know. Come on, Lifeliners, am I talking to anybody today that can say, you know what, I don't know when this thing is going to lift up? And guess what? I've cried myself to sleep. Well, if that's you on today, I'm glad that you're here because I want you to know that that is a tool that you can use to get through your faith walk. Tears, listen, let the tears be your meat. Let the tears lead you. Let the tears let them flow. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know when my son is going to turn around. I don't know when this marriage is going to turn around. I don't know when this job is going to turn around. But I believe that God sees my tears. And so I remember that was a breaking point. And I remember probably about 9 years into this, people would say mean things. Now, some people would say stuff just to get a reaction, and some people would just say just mean things. Oh, she's too mean to have a baby, and maybe it's just the Lord's will, and so you got to be careful with allowing people to speak defeat all in the name of it's the Lord's will. Nope. I had a promise, and that you're speaking, that was not it. So I learned how to cancel out and not embrace it, because guess what? My faith is saying, all down in my spirit is saying, keep going, Liz, keep going, keep going. You're not crying for nothing. You're not trusting for nothing. You're not hoping for nothing. And so my faith kicked in so to the point. I remember going to the stores and I was buying baby bottles and blankets. And because, listen, I'm a woman of faith. So my faith required that I did something. I remember having bottles in the cabinet, and I would open the cabinet in the kitchen and say, "One day it's going to happen." I remember I had barrettes and all kind of baby clothes and socks, and I began to prepare for what they said I could not have. Oh, I think I've said something. How about you this week? Begin to prepare for what they say that you cannot have. Because here's the reality, that if God said you can have it, child, you can bet your last dollar it is on the way. So I remember doing those things. And I remember even when I would get negative pregnancy tests, they would come back. And I just knew deep down in my heart that this was going to be the time. And guess what? It wasn't. But guess what? I would let those tears flow. And I said, nope. That means God is getting ready to do it. That means I'm closer today than I was on yesterday. I want you to start telling yourself this week, I'm closer today than I was on yesterday. Do you hear me? Say it with me. Write it in the comments. I'm closer today than I was on yesterday. Let me tell you something. You cannot afford to let your faith fail you now, honey, because again, you are really closer today than you was on yesterday. You have a greater understanding today than you had on yesterday. You're probably getting an understanding why God chose you to walk with such weight and for you to walk with such an assignment, because he can trust you. He knows the way that you take, and when he has tried you, surely, child, you're going to come out as pure gold. So let me tell y'all. So not only was I buying clothes and preparing for this baby, but I began to prepare within my heart. I begin to prepare within my body. I begin to say, you know what? I want to have a healthy pregnancy. So what did I do, honey? I started losing weight, child. Yes, I did, because I didn't want, gestational diabetes and all of those things and heart issues. I didn't want all of that. I wanted to experience it. And so I went on this weight loss journey, and I think I lost over 100 and some pounds, like 130 pounds, because I wanted to, experience it. Listen, and I also lost that much weight just in case after I had the baby, I didn't want to lose no more weight. I'm all right. But nevertheless, I was prepared. I prepared. I prepared. I began to look in the scriptures and see what the scriptures say about parenting and all of those things. And I began to prepare for what they said I would never have. Let me talk to you that you may prepare for what they said you're never going to have. Child, if I tell you nothing else, get to it, start preparing, start dreaming again, bring that vision out. Yeah, bring it out again, dust it off. It's not too late. Prepare for what they said you would never have. So, as I did that, I remember in this faith walk, I think it was like year 10, and I finally did get pregnant. And I'm excited, and I'm overjoyed. I'm saying, okay, God did exactly what he said he was going to do. And so I'm just like, okay, yes, God did it. God did this thing. And I'm running around the church, and I'm high-fiving, and I'm sliding, and I'm doing all of those things. And I'll never forget, it was on I think it was like a Sunday night. And I was just like, okay, God and did it. Um, I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. God did it. Okay, okay. And um, let me see, that Monday morning, I woke up to a bed full of blood. And I remember saying, no, God, I don't want this part of the story. I don't want this chapter of my story, God. Because the very thing that I feared would come up on me had come up on me. And that was a miscarriage. Because now this is out of my control. There's nothing I can do about this. Surely this can't be it. And I remember, laying hands on my belly and praying and doing everything that scripture told me to do. Speak those things that are not, and hold on, and speak faith. And I was doing all of that. But I knew deep down on the inside something was happening in my body. And so I was rushed to the emergency room. And, you know, I go into the emergency room, and the physician said, "Well, it looks like it was twins, and there's still an embryo there." And I'm like, "Okay, good, I'm okay." But when I got home, all through the night, I was in so much discomfort. I was in so much pain, and I knew that next morning I had an appointment to go in to see my physician. And I went in to see the physician, and she said something to me, and I'll never forget it. She said, "I don't hear a heartbeat anymore." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Now, God, I know you plan. Why is it that you would allow this to happen to me?" And guess what? I got angry. Oh, y'all know Lizzy gonna tell the truth. Can I talk to some individuals? You're angry at your faith walk. You don't understand. Well, how is this? Listen, how did this take a change this fast? I know what that feels like. The disappointment of listen, this, how much more can I take? It was almost like a slap in my face. But yet and still, can I tell you, God understands that. He gets it. And so I remember coming out of the hospital, and people had just found out that we were pregnant, and they were saying congratulations, and I'm sitting here bawling, and I'm bawling my eyes out, and I can't even open my mouth to tell them, I'm not pregnant anymore. And I'll never forget, i I gotten home, and my phone rung, and it was my god kid's mom, and she was like, "We're gonna have our babies together." And she was so excited, and she was like, "Oh, we're pregnant." And I tell her, I said, "Unfortunately, I'm in the middle of having a miscarriage." And she said, "I'm so sorry, I never would have called you if I knew." And it was at the moment, it was like the enemy was just sending everybody to me, that all of a sudden there was 5 people within the next 3 days that called me like, "Oh, we're gonna be pregnant together." And we weren't. So once again, I had to adjust my emotions. I had to adjust and say, but I still mm, believe God. And I said, "God, I still believe you. And I still believe you. And I still believe you." And I thought that, I was over the miscarriage and everything was happening. And I remember my husband and I, we would just, we listened, we cried and laughed through it. One thing I've learned to do was cry and laugh through it all. And that moment, we were laughing. I had this pain, and I went to the restroom, and I came. I went to the restroom, and when I uh, got up to come out of the restroom, I looked inside of the toilet, and there was the baby, and I was devastated. I thought, out of all of that I experienced, it was over, but it was not over. And I remember the wind in the bathroom becoming so small, and I didn't know what to do. What should I do at this moment? Should I flush? Do it? Does the baby look like me? I've been waiting, 10 years, 10 and a half years at this point. Does it have my eyes? Does it have my husband's nose? And I am struggling. And I'm like, "God, why?" And I am crying, and I am screaming. And I had a moment with God in that bathroom. And I remember getting in the shower. And at this point, I'm saying, "I can't do this anymore. I can't. I've been faithful. I've been in faith for over a decade. Okay, if this isn't it, then God, it's okay. Let me believe you for something else, because this is too much." Oh, I feel like crying. This is too much. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I can't go any further. And I remember being in that shower, and I remember hearing the Lord tell me to look at that thing again. And when I perceived that what was happening, I was told that it would never happen. But guess what? It had happened. I was pregnant. Then something is happening. There's a shift. Something is happening in my body. And I remember stopping the shower and I dried my face because I was screaming and I was crying for every woman that had lost, that had had miscarriages, that had that had polycystic ovarian syndrome, that had fibroids, any reproductive issue. I was screaming for us, girl. I was screaming for us. But I remember hopping out that shower with the revelation that what the doctor had said that it would be impossible or never happen, baby, that thing happened. And I remember getting on the phone and calling the advice nurse and saying, how long does it take for me to recover? Because I have to do this again. Honey, it's all about how you look at it. Listen, through the tears, through the blood, through all of that, I had to look and see that my promise was on the horizon. And I remember saying, God is about to return back unto me according to the manner of women. That scripture. God is getting ready to fulfill. There's getting ready to be a performance in my life. Listen, it was between me and God at that moment. And I said, God is getting ready to perform in my life. God is getting ready to perform in my life. And I want you to know that God is getting ready to perform in your life. I'm glad you stopped by the Life with Lizzy show today because you need to know that God is getting ready to perform in your life. Listen, I remember going to the doctor and having this conversation with now a new physician. And she was very mindful and she was very, uh, she listened to my story. She listened to my pain. And she looked at me and she said, we're going to have a baby. She got in agreement with me. I had a physician that says, I'm in agreement with you. We are going to have a baby. I'm going to speed it up and tell you, baby, 10 months later, I had a little baby. I had a little girl. Now, those clothes I bought was a little outdated, child. Can't wear baby fat. I just dated myself, didn't I? But I did. And I remember when I was in the delivery room, um, some things had begun to happen. And I made the conscious decision. I said, take me there. Um, Go ahead, do the surgery, get her out. I'll be okay. I was confident I'm going to be okay because I got to live to see the thing and hold the thing that God promised me. I got to live to see and hold the thing that money cannot buy. And I remember laying there in the OR and they told me, well, because of the trauma that has happened during the delivery, you won't hear her cry. And I said, no, not so. I've waited 12 years to hear the sound of my faith. Let me say that again. I waited 12 years to hear the sound of my faith. And they delivered her. And I heard this voice, this cry, this sound coming from my faith, from my baby. And again, God had did exactly what he said he was going to do. It took me 12 years to get there. But if I know nothing else, there's only one thing that God can't do, and that is lie. I want to encourage you on this day that if He spoke it, stand on it, and believe that it is getting ready to come to pass. See, this life that we only have one life, so we might as well get busy living or we might as well get busy dying. But we're not in the business of dying, we're in the business of living. But how do I live when things seem to not be going my way? You live anyway. You live on purpose, you live on faith, you live life. You live life knowing that your best days are ahead of you. Listen, I just wanted to share that story with someone that is believing God for what money can't buy, believing God for the impossible. I want to join my faith with yours today on this 24-hour inspirational gospel music station, Believe Radio. I want to believe that your best days are ahead of you. Listen, do me a favor. Send me an email letting me know how I can partner with you, how I can be in agreement with the thing that you are believing God for. I'm so glad that you stopped by here and allowed me just to talk life with you. Thank you for joining me. I am so excited to be your friend, to be your strong friend right here on Believe Radio. Do me a favor, continue to share this station, to share the things that we are doing. Go ahead and find us on all our platforms. I promise you, you will not. When I tell you, you will not be disappointed. Go and find us Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all of those things. And until I come back next week, I holla. Thanks for doing Life with Lizzy.
A day is coming, there'll be no war. Peace will take over the land. No more broken heart, abandoned and alone. God will separate the right from wrong. Then we'll be changed.